Good morning, Brew Daily Show. I'm Neal Freyman.
And I'm Toby Howell.
Today, Anthropic throws jabs at OpenAI ahead of the Super Bowl.
Then it's tough to tell which is colder right now, real winter or this crypto winter. It's Friday, February 6th. Let's ride.
Good morning and happy Friday. It's been a long week, but we made it. So this week, Facebook turned 22 years old, and to mark the occasion, Mark Zuckerberg shared a list of 5 songs he listened to while creating the social app as a 19-year-old, a playlist called 2004 Facebook Coding Jams. Ready to hear what's on it? Headstrong by Trapped, Like a Stone by Audioslave, The Reason by Hoobastank, In the End by Linkin Park, and Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger by Daft Punk, which I gotta admit, it's pretty much what I was listening to in 2004 while not building a future $2 trillion company. Toby, thoughts on 2004 Facebook Coding Jams?
I mean, pretty good list. It also led me down a rabbit hole of what other soundtracks powered famous people or famous pursuits. Michael Lewis, who wrote The Big Short, told us when we interviewed him that he listens to the same bubblegum pop anthems over and over while writing his books. So he's a pop guy. Albert Einstein was a big Mozart guy, maybe unsurprisingly. And then definitely unsurprisingly, Steve Jobs, Bob Dylan, and Beatles guy. Neal Freyman, this is a true story, listens to ambient sounds to wash away distractions on a website called A Soft Murmur. I look over sometimes to say something to Neal while we're prepping for the show, and he's got rain sounds playing at 100% volume. This is why you haven't created a $2 trillion company.
It's essentially, white noise. They're going to inspect my brain and be like, what the hell is going on here? Because I think I'm in a rainstorm for like 10 hours of the day.
I know, it's like fight or flight instincts. I just listen to movie soundtracks, so I think I'm the main character in my own story. All right, let's hear from our sponsor, Sandals Resorts. Neal, let me pitch you a business idea. Imagine a scenic seaside resort with attractions for parents and children.
That sounds like Beaches Resorts.
No, I'm pretty sure this is something I thought of. It's a Toby original, and it's never been done before.
Nope. Beaches Resorts deliver family fun across the Caribbean. Kids can enjoy the Pirate Island Water Park and Sesame Street programming at their world-famous kids camps.
Okay, but can parents unwind with spa treatments or beachside cocktails?
Again, yes. Plus, they can explore the Caribbean's most beautiful islands like Turks and Caicos and Jamaica.
Fine, I guess there's no better place to experience the Caribbean than at resorts founded by a family from the Caribbean. And I'm totally unoriginal. For the latest offers, visit sandals.com. That's sandals.com.
The Super Bowl is coming up on Friday, and we're going to run down some storylines to make you the most interesting person at your party. First up, while the Seahawks take on the Patriots on the field, perhaps an even more intriguing battle will play out during the commercial breaks. Anthropic versus OpenAI in a clash of the chatbots. This week, Anthropic, which makes Claude, dropped the gauntlet on its rival by ridiculing its push into advertising. In a series of 4 commercials, 2 of which will air around the game, Anthropic staged scenes where someone asks questions of another person whose robotic answers resemble a chatbot's. At the end of their reply, the AI character suddenly goes into an ad read, emphasizing how disruptive this experience might be for users. The subtext of Anthropic's campaign is that last month, OpenAI said it would begin to include ads in ChatGPT, while this week, Anthropic loudly proclaimed that Claude would remain ad-free. Toby, this sparked a million marketing debates. How do you think Anthropic's attack on OpenAI was received, and do you think it's an effective pitch for potential customers?
I mean, I think we've seen this before on the Super Bowl advertising stage. I'm thinking back to Get a Mac, where you contrast a Mac versus a PC. This is something that advertisers have done for a long time. It's not breaking any laws, by the way. They're not defaming OpenAI because they actually never name them, which is why so many people were so excited by this campaign, because the way that the people who are embodying ChatGPT talk in this campaign, everyone's like, I understand what they're referencing. So you create this in-group feeling of people who get the joke. Also, they're trying to drum up press for their potential IPO maybe in the coming months. So this is a good win for Anthropic. Of course, OpenAI is not happy. Sam Altman responded on X. Even calling it a response feels like I'm underselling it. He wrote a full essay on X calling it funny, but clearly dishonest and deceptive. He says, "We are not stupid, and we know our users would reject our ads if we ran them like that." So he tried to fire back, but it's very tough to bring an essay to a Super Bowl funny ad fight.
Well, they're not just bringing an essay. OpenAI is also taking out a 60-second ad in the Super Bowl for the second year in a row. AI companies are really amping up their marketing, especially on traditional television. Last year, tech companies like Anthropic, Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, they collectively spent $334 million on broadcast TV ads pitching their AI wares, which was a 43% year-over-year increase. This battle is playing out in the Super Bowl. We often talk about the Super Bowl commercials as being the arena for whatever new technology is coming into the fore. A few years ago, it was crypto, and then in the past few years, it has been AI, and it's interesting to see what particular marketing tack that OpenAI, Anthropic, Amazon, Google, all these other tech companies are going to take.
The one thing that I think could come back to bite Anthropic, though, is basically what you're doing is undermining a competitor right now, but you're also potentially putting some doubt in consumers' minds about LLMs in general and if ads are going to undermine that process. So I wonder if maybe they're trading long-term credibility for a short-term win right now, because a lot of people are crowning this a short-term win, but I just don't know if it's the right tack to play if you want to broadly make your company a trustworthy company. If you want AI to eventually become a thing that many consumers use, why are you framing it in such a negative light on such a big stage? So that is some of the critique I've seen of this, is that maybe it's just short-term, internet points versus something that will damage your brand and your industry long-term.
Right, because it comes at a time when more Americans than not say they're fearful over AI than excited for it. So this kind of a lot of AI marketing in the past has done to assuage those fears. This only amplifies them. Okay, we also have to talk about Bad Bunny, the headline performer of the Super Bowl halftime show and an artist at the peak of his powers. The Puerto Rican singer is coming off a huge night at the Grammys, nabbing Album of the Year, which followed a 2025 where he was Spotify's most streamed artist globally. Also last year, Bad Bunny held a historic residency in Puerto Rico that was attended by more than 500,000 people and added hundreds of millions of dollars to the island's economy. His Super Bowl performance has taken on a political resonance as well. Bad Bunny's been critical of the Trump administration, and in one of his victory speeches at the Grammys, he declared ICE out. Toby, even if you don't care about football, you are going to be glued to the halftime show.
Yeah, here's a good data point for how big a Bad Bunny halftime show will be. His post teasing his performance is the most liked one ever in the history of teasing Super Bowl halftime shows. Rihanna's teaser had 72 million views, 4.1 million likes. Kendrick Lamar's had 54 million views, 3 million likes. Bad Bunny's has 151 million. So it's 3 times the size of Kendrick's and 8.4 million likes. So Rihanna and Kendrick Lamar are obviously like massive megastars, but Bad Bunny is a super ultra mega global star. He's just so popular.
Nothing compares to him right now, and we'll probably get a new viewership record. Last year, Kendrick Lamar, when he was involved in this Drake beef, so a lot of people were tuned in. He did set the record for a halftime show in terms of viewership with 133.5 million. You have to expect with Bad Bunny being whatever superstar, megastar he is right now across the world, will eclipse that number.
By the way, a lot of people were comparing Anthropic and OpenAI's beef as Kendrick and Drake beef for nerds. So we're basically getting beefs, times 2.
Finally, while we don't necessarily condone betting, there is one Super Bowl wager I do want to discuss. So among the more unusual bets you can place on the game is the length of the national anthem. This year, Charlie Puth is belting the banner, and the line right now is over under 120.5 seconds, or just about 2 minutes flat. That would track with last year when John Batiste clocked in at 1 minute and 59 seconds. Toby, are you expecting an up-tempo anthem or a little more largo?
I think I'm going up-tempo because I did find a video of Charlie Puth playing the national anthem back in 2021. Now, he's just in his house and he's not singing. He's just doing an instrumental version of it. But the length of that version is just 1 minute and 1 second. So obviously, all those other confounding factors say that this is not going to be his actual performance, but that's something to keep an eye on because he raced through that one. So I am taking the under. I also went digging for my own prop bets, and I just want to run a couple by you. Guest performers for Bad Bunny's halftime show. Do you have any ideas of who the favorite is for him to bring out?
J Balvin.
J Balvin is minus 160. Cardi B is actually the favorite, but I'm liking Shakira at plus 340 because remember, he's got some history with Shakira. This is not Bad Bunny's first halftime performance appearance, actually. He came out in 2020 as a special guest when J-Lo and Shakira hosted it. So maybe he's returning the favor with J-Lo and Shakira this year. Will a player or coach cry during the national anthem?
No.
No is plus 184. It is not the favorite. Yes is minus 230. So we got some emotional kings on the
I cried during Charlie Puth's songs, so I can see that.
And then this is a fun one. Which Bay Area landmark will be shown first? The odds-on favorite is, of course, the Golden Gate Bridge at minus 1,000, but I like some value in Alcatraz Island, plus 550. And this is my thinking around this. I could see a segment on the Seahawks' very good defense, and where the announcer goes like, you know, you would be better off like seeing them around this place right here, and they show Alcatraz Island. So that's something to think about. And then finally, this is the infinite money hack. Will an unauthorized person, aka streaker, enter the field of play? Yes is plus 300. No is minus 500. Put $1 million on yourself. Go make history. Go make your own luck right there. You literally have control of your own destiny right there. You will do time, though.
All right, thank you for your picks, Toby. We all know that the surest way to make money is to do the inverse Toby.
Yes, inverse Toby. Do not tell me.
Okay, it's been a brutal start for the year for layoffs, so much so that it's the worst January for job cuts since the Great Recession. According to a new report from Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, U.S. companies announced the largest number of layoffs in January since 2009, 108,000, more than double the figure from last year. Andy Challenger, chief revenue officer at the data firm, said generally we see a high number of job cuts in the first quarter, but this is a high total for January. It means most of these plans were set at the end of 2025, signaling employers are less than optimistic about the outlook for 2026. About 40% of January's total is accounted for by two companies, Amazon and UPS. A few weeks ago, Amazon said it was cutting 16,000 corporate jobs, while UPS announced 30,000 layoffs. But companies like Pinterest, Dow, Peloton, and Nike also slimmed down their workforces in January. If layoffs weren't bad enough, corporate America isn't in the mood to hire either. Companies announced plans to bring on just 5,300 new employees in January, which is the lowest total for the month since records began in 2009. Toby, fresh signs that the labor market is limping along at best.
Yeah, the storyline that we've been kind of saying over the past few months is that we are in a no hire, no fire market where everything is just frozen over and not a lot is going on. That narrative is starting to crack, actually, because the fire is coming back in droves right now, and the no hire part is happening as well. So we are getting no hire and lots of fire. So that is a lot of cracks appearing in the labor market right now. And, you know, we are seeing it kind of concentrated at this point because a lot of these layoffs are driven by a few big corporations. I mean, yeah, Amazon obviously has a lot of employees. UPS has a lot of employees. So these are high profile cuts, but they are cuts and they are kind of showing that, hey, maybe the labor market isn't as stable as maybe even the Fed thought.
Yeah, so we were in a low fire moment. I think we're in a we're in a low hire moment. Now I think we're in essentially a zero hire moment because in addition to this Challenger J and Christmas report that came out yesterday, so did a government report on job openings. And job openings fell by 386,000 to 6.5 million in December, which is the lowest level since September 2020. Firms are not even thinking about hiring right now. There's only basically two areas of the economy that are hiring anyone. It's healthcare, and then it's also if you are the best AI superstar in the world. And if you're not any of those, it's very, very hard to get a job. We also don't have a great picture of the labor market. We have a few tidbits here, but today, this morning, the jobs report for January was supposed to come out, but it's not, and that's because there was that government shutdown, partial government shutdown for a few days earlier this week, and that pushed back the jobs report to February 11th. So the next time we'll get a good read on the jobs market is not till next week.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back right after this with our Stock of the Week and Dog of the Week.
Welcome to Stock of the Week, Dog of the Week, the segment where Toby and I pick one stock that's having a beautiful day and another that still hasn't found what it's looking for. I won the pre-show game of Never Have I Ever, so I get to go first. And my stock of the week is Caterpillar, whose stock reached an all-time high even as the rest of the market melted down. But it's not for the reason you might expect. We all know Caterpillar as the maker of yellow bulldozers, excavators, dump trucks, and other really cool machines found at construction sites, but investors increasingly see it as an artificial intelligence play. That's because a lesser-known unit inside Caterpillar is power generators, which are key inputs for the physical infrastructure underpinning the AI boom. Data centers, like Caterpillar's, are very hungry, and often their power demands exceed what's available in the power grid. So data center developers are turning to Caterpillar's natural gas-fueled generators to keep the lights on, and it's been a huge tailwind for the business. The company's power and energy unit has become its fastest-growing segment, jumping 44% from the previous year and fueling a record fourth quarter with $19.1 billion in total sales. Toby, this isn't an overnight success. Caterpillar soared 58% last year, tripling the S&P's gain, and so far in 2026, it is the best-performing stock on the Dow.
I don't know if I'm just a Debbie Downer, but my mind immediately went to, the dot-com boom and bust cycle and how all these, internet providers were the ones who ended up going belly up as well. So is AI infrastructure going to do the exact same thing and outpace real profits? Is Caterpillar going to be left holding the bag? That is exactly where my mind went to. And Caterpillar obviously has thought about this. They're saying that we're actually very involved in early stage customer planning. So we are able to meet customer demand, or align basically our generator production with actual customer demand. And that is a big thing here, where they're not getting ahead of their skis. They're not building too many of these generators. So they say they got it under control, but I do wonder if they're going to be left holding the bag if infrastructure demand falls a little bit.
We'll see. We did learn this week that big tech companies, just 4 of them, are going to spend $650 billion, which is the size of a small country, on data centers in 2026. And some of that is going to Caterpillar. And I want to point out an example of how this works. So there's a data center project in Utah. It's going to need about 1/4 of the power the entire state currently uses. So they can't tap the grid. They have to go outside to Caterpillar's generators. They're going to buy more than 700 natural gas fuel generators from Caterpillar. So they're going to buy 700. How much do these cost? Well, they're 2.5 megawatts. They cost about $800,000 for piston engine generators. So that total contract is going to be about $56 million just for this one data center project in Utah. And that's really fueling Caterpillar's business.
And then just on the idea of boring businesses outperforming the broader market right now, a couple of pretty unsexy names, as they've been framed, have touched 52 weeks high of late. Companies like Walmart, Coca-Cola, Chevron, Caterpillar, Pepsi, GE's spinoff Veranova, which also deals with energy. A lot of these are not exactly the AI companies or the big tech companies that have made a lot of headlines and driven a lot of market gains of late. They are John Deere and actually Cisco, ironically, bringing back the internet boom. So you are seeing maybe a rotation into just defensive stocks, consumer stocks, and away from the big tech stocks that have led most of the charge of late. Moving on, my dog of the week is Bitcoin. We started this week talking about how Bitcoin was getting wrecked right at a time where it should be shining. And since then, it's looking worse than you on a 30-minute hit in the hills ride on the Peloton. Bitcoin is currently laboring at around $65,000, a far cry from its peak of $122,000 post-Trump election. The digital gold narrative espoused by your cousin with no job is unraveling faster than James Harden's relationship with the Clippers front office. Rather than acting as a safe haven asset that rises when uncertainty spikes, it's done the opposite and been lapped by real gold in the process. Gold is up 24% since October. Bitcoin is down 44% in the same period. Now, Bitcoin bulls are no stranger to massive price swings. Following an infamous hack in 2014, Bitcoin's price halved. 2018 brought another crypto winter with Bitcoin falling 74%. Of course, it bounced back from all of those drawdowns, but what makes 2026 wipeout especially concerning is that there hasn't really been one inciting event. Michael Burry of Big Short fame said, Bitcoin has been exposed as a purely speculative asset and is not near the debasement trade hedge that gold and other precious metals are. The tide is out and it's got no shorts on.
This week brought a bunch of ugly milestones for Bitcoin. It's evaporated all of its gains from when Trump was elected back in 2024. Crypto's market cap has basically halved from 4.3 trillion to just 2.3 trillion in the span of months. On October 6th was when it hit its peak. Bitcoin has lost value now for 4 straight months. It looks like it's going to be 5 after February. There's just a complete identity crisis right now. It's not gold. It's not a replacement for the dollar. When was the last time you used Bitcoin to buy anything? It's not an alternative decentralized financial system that's going to topple Wall Street. Right now, Bitcoin and Wall Street are essentially one and the same, and it doesn't have any underlying value. So it's been nearly 20 years now since Bitcoin was invented and has not proven any of these theses out. The only reason people seem to be buying it is because they think they can sell it to another person at a higher price, which is known as speculation.
You can't even say we're early anymore, too, which used to be a rallying cry for the crypto crowd. Wherever these drawdowns would happen, we go, well, no one even knows about Bitcoin. No one even knows about crypto yet. But now it's very easy to buy crypto. You can go it on Coinbase. You can do it via many ETFs that offer exposure to these assets. So it's very mainstream now. So you don't even have that in your back pocket to say, well, wait until the normies find out about this, because the normies have found out about this. By the way, we talked about Bitcoin for Dog of the Week, but there was a pack of dogs vying for this title because it was a rough week in the markets. Volvo, the Swedish automaker, had its worst trading day ever, falling 30% yesterday. They were citing tariffs and weak demand. Peloton fell 24% after weak holiday demand and the fact that Neal did not perform well in his 30-minute hit and hills ride. Get those watts up, Neal. Novo Nordisk is now trading at pre-GLP-1 prices after Eli Lilly's Mounjaro and Zepbound totally caught and surpassed it. And then finally, Figma, a very strong contender for Dog of the Week as well. It went public last year, surging to a $56 billion valuation. Since then, it's fallen over 80%, and it's trading well below the $20 billion valuation that Adobe tried to buy it for. So rough week in the markets, Neal.
It's been really bad. Some are calling it a potentially historic or, a transition point for the markets. This week, Claude released legal tools and essentially wiped trillions of dollars off of software stocks. There's just a total tech meltdown right now, and this could be the beginning of the era where AI is starting to make these huge software companies completely obsolete, and investors sort of woke up to that this week. The AI bubble fears have receded, and that AI is going to replace a lot of really gigantic companies is now to the fore. Just a very important week in the markets. It's a lot of red.
Yeah. Plus, I stubbed my toe last night, so add that to the things that went poorly this week.
Okay, let's sprint to the finish with some final headlines. Pour one out, though you'll probably have to wait a few hours, for Minute Maid's orange juice concentrate. The brand's parent company, Coca-Cola, said it is discontinuing frozen juice concentrates to focus on the fresh juices more preferred by consumers. Talk about a hit of nostalgia. If you're over the age of 25, odds are you had some of these cans always stashed in your freezer. First introduced 80 years ago, the concentrates are taken out to thaw and then mixed with water to form OJ fit for drinking. But tastes have changed and inflation has taken a toll. The cost of a 12-ounce can of frozen orange juice has jumped 13% over the past year, while the sugar-packed beverage has lost ground to energy drinks and protein smoothies. U.S. sales of frozen beverages fell nearly 8% in the year ending January 24th. Toby, as a Florida boy, I know frozen OJ goes against your religion, but yeah, I have to understand just how iconic these were.
It is iconic, and actually I want to shout out my hometown company, Tropicana, because it is still selling frozen juice concentrate in U.S. grocery stores. So if you really do have a hankering for it, you can find it via Tropicana. Minute Maid was the pioneer in this space. They debuted it in 1946, and then eventually, though, refrigerated juice overtook it because it's just a better form factor, easier form factor to consume. But I had no idea it was actually kind of relatively, like 1946 feels both a long time ago and relatively recent, but a big reason why orange juice became this year-round thing that many people drank, because obviously oranges don't really grow well in the winter. When you freeze them, then you can have them all year long. Finally, the Super Bowl of winter sports kicks off today. The Olympics. You can tune in to catch the Milan Cortina Games opening ceremony get underway today at 2 p.m. And here's a couple of storylines to keep an eye on if you haven't been dialed into curling so far. American skier Lindsey Vonn is 41 years old, just ruptured her ACL, but is still staging her Olympic comeback, which hurts my knees just thinking about it. NHL players are also coming back to Olympic hockey for the first time in over a decade. Team USA has as good a shot at a medal as any team that doesn't have Connor McDavid on it. I'm pumped to watch ski mountaineering make its Olympic debut, which involves hiking uphill, then downhill racing. Team USA has a surprising pair of medal hopefuls. Good luck there. Finally, some doping issues are already hanging over the games. Critics say that the World Anti-Doping Agency has dropped the ball of late investigating scandals ahead of both last Winter Olympics and the Paris Summer Games. And Neal, we already have a scandal rocking these games. I'm just going to read this headline directly from The Athletic because it's so absurd. Reports have surfaced before the Winter Olympics that alleged ski jumpers are injecting their penises with hyaluronic acid to fly farther. The World Anti-Doping Agency has vowed to investigate. What is going on here?
I'm afraid we actually have to talk about Penisgate. It's very, very interesting. This was first surfaced in reports by a German newspaper in January, and yesterday it was addressed by the World Anti-Doping Agency, which sparked a lot of discussion about what is actually going on here. So let's talk about it. So ski jumping, you jump off a ramp and then you try to fly as far as you can. The suits that they wear are very precise and they fit to your body. So you go into a doctor's office or a clinic and you get your body scanned in a 3D way, and you get your suit. And the idea is the bigger the suit is, the more loose fabric, the more you can fly because there's more drag. It's like a sail catching wind. So ski jumpers want to do the best that they can to get a bigger suit. Now, one creative way perhaps this is happening is by injecting their genitalia with this particular acid, which increases its girth. And research from the scientific journal found that a 2-centimeter change in a suit represented an extra 5.8 meters in the length of the jump. That could be the difference from 4th place to bronze, or bronze to silver, silver to gold. So you can understand why allegedly some of them are injecting acid into their penises to get a bigger suit for bigger drag and more length on their jumps.
It makes sense. I just wish we could have done that whole explanation without saying girth, but you did pretty well, Neal. You know, every extra centimeter counts when you're trying to win gold.
All right, that is all the time we have. Thanks so much for starting your morning with us, and have a wonderful Friday. If you want to get in touch, send an email to morningbrewdaily@morningbrew.com or DM us on Instagram @MBDailyShow. Let's roll the credits. Emily Milliron is our executive producer. Raymond Liu is our producer. Our associate producers are Olivia Graham and Olivia Lake. Hair and makeup is Holding On and Not Looking. Devin Emery is our president, and our show is a production of Morning Brew.
Great show today, Neal. I wish you all well.